Disney has just revealed a first look at the all-new Pandora Land based on the Avatar franchise coming to the Disneyland Resort, which is notably not a clone of Pandora World of Avatar from Disney's Animal Kingdom, but rather appears to be an original land primarily based on the sequel Avatar: The Way of Water. But where is this land going to go in the Disneyland Resort? Let us speculate as to the rumors and realistic locations that this land could be built in the Disneyland Resort. Now, officially speaking, Disney has not given any indication of where this Avatar land will be going within the Disneyland Resort, but rumors place it in one of 3 different locations within the Disneyland Resort, all essentially located within Disney California Adventure Park. I would add that the news that Autopia is getting electric vehicles has made me stop considering Tomorrowland as a viable option. I'm going to discuss each of them and the pros and cons of why they might make sense and might not make sense. I'm going to discuss each of them and the reasons that each location might make sense and not make sense for this specific version of Pandora World of Avatar to be built. Those 3 locations being Hollywoodland, Grizzly Peak, and Disneyland Forward, in that order. So let us start the discussion with Hollywoodland, a section of the park that is not exactly beloved by Disney fans, as it stands today, that is. Now, the rumors for this section of the park isn't that it would replace the entirety of Hollywoodland. Most rumors state that the red trolley line and that main pathway would remain, and it would merely replace the section of Hollywoodland that holds the sound stages and Mike and Sully to the Rescue, the Monsters Inc. ride. And there is certainly enough room here for what is being proposed, especially when you consider that should Disneyland Forward be approved, there will be more land available for the theme park to use. Now, it is worth mentioning at this point what Disneyland Forward is if you are unaware. Disneyland Forward is a set of regulation changes that Disney is seeking to get approved. The approval date is currently set for Tuesday, April 16th. And if approved, Disney will have access to more of their land to build theme parks on. The change essentially allows them more zoning freedom of what to build where on their land. And part of this land would be areas located behind Hollywoodland that currently hold bus loops, which would be relocated elsewhere in the Disneyland Resort, should the plan be approved. When taking that into consideration, there is more than enough land for what is being proposed here. The one difficulty I see is separating it from the rest of the park, as this version of Pandora, or any version of Pandora for that matter, would be of a fairly different theme than Hollywoodland as it currently exists. So there would not be much of a way to create a transition zone between these 2 areas. But again, there is definitely enough room here for something of this scale. Also, due to the existence of the current bus loops, Disney would likely not be able to begin construction on this Avatar land immediately, as they would need to relocate those bus loops elsewhere in the resort first before they could lose the existing ones, which would take time, which I do think is a drawback of this being the potential location for this Avatar-themed land. As given Disney has already started to announce things for this, I'm going to assume that this is a nearer-term project that wouldn't require that level of infrastructure restructuring before it could even begin progress. Now let us move on to the second potential location for this Pandora Avatar-themed land, that being the Grizzly Peak, as this is something a lot of Disney fans have speculated, especially with a potential Avatar: The Way of Water themed attraction. And I think that this concept art fairly clearly dispels that rumor. As we can see in this concept art, what the ride vehicle would look like for this future Avatar attraction, and it looks nothing like the Grizzly River Run ride vehicle. And quite frankly, I just do not see Disney entirely tearing down this attraction just to build another water ride in its place. There's also another point I would like to add that relates to both this Grizzly Peak location and the Hollywoodland location, in that Disney has stated that the majority of their investments in the Disney parks over the next decade are going to be focused on increasing capacity in the Disney parks. And that is something that really neither of these 2 additions would do, as they would both be replacing existing attractions. In the case of the Grizzly Peak location, replacing popular attractions, that Grizzly River Run is still a very popular attraction, and replacing it would potentially impact Soarin', which once again is still an incredibly popular attraction. In Hollywoodland, it would not be replacing the most popular attractions. It would only be replacing the Monsters Inc. ride, which is not the most popular attraction in Disney California Adventure, but it still would not really be fully increasing capacity, which would be a point in the final location, which we will now transition to's favor, Disneyland Forward. Now, as I have already stated, Disneyland Forward is primarily a set of zoning changes that Disney is attempting to get approved, allowing them more freedom in what to build where on their land in the Disneyland Resort. And that primarily relates to some surface parking lots surrounding their resort hotels. These surface parking lots here, for instance, that Disney wants the freedom to be able to build theme park attractions on these surface parking lots and utilize them for the expansion of Disney California Adventure and Disneyland Park. And that's where I want to get into some discussion. As a part of Disneyland Forward, Disney released some concept art for things they potentially could build in these surface parking lots. Notably, they did not officially announce anything in this concept art. They just used it as a theoretical for attractions they could build here. Nothing in this concept art was officially announced. But let's look a bit closer at this concept art, because there's an area of this concept art that looks very similar to the concept art that Disney showed us for this Disneyland Pandora Land. Notably, this section here, which is located right next to a clone of Expedition Everest. That if you look, you can see several major similarities between this concept art and the Pandora concept art that we just got. See the two bridges, see the waterways, see the rock work. It roughly matches up. And in a statement released after this concept art, the head of the Disney parks explicitly tied this Pandora expansion of Disneyland to the Disneyland Forward plans, seeming to suggest that it will be built there as opposed to within the existing parks. And if they were to build this Pandora Land as a part of the Disneyland Forward expansion, that would mean it would be purely expanding capacity, as realistically it is only replacing parking spaces, which would be replaced elsewhere in the Disneyland Resort, as Disneyland Forward also involves the building of new parking garages. It is also worth mentioning this Disneyland Forward concept art also includes a section which appears to be a clone of Pandora World of Avatar as it exists in Disney's Animal Kingdom. Once again, it is difficult to take anything in this Disneyland Forward concept art at face value, as Disney has explicitly stated that this is not exactly what they're going to build, but I do think it is worth noting that it appears this Pandora World of Avatar land does appear in this Disneyland Forward concept art, maybe suggesting that this is the intended location for it, and potentially even that this Disneyland Forward concept art is more real than Disney initially led us to believe, although I'm not sure that I would go that far. Personally, this concept art swayed me much more in the favor of this Pandora land is going to be built as a part of Disneyland Forward than I was before today. But I would also like to know what you all think regarding this and where you think Disneyland is going to build this new Pandora Avatar land in the Disneyland Resort. And assumably we will hear after the official Disneyland Forward approval where it is going, and potentially at D23 later this year.